Hello, wanted to share a couple thoughts with you from the scriptures. As we're going through this crazy time in this world, I think it's important that all of us understand that our God is sovereign. When we think about the sovereignty of God, it has the connotation that God is in total control of all things. Everything was within the power of his hand to do whatever he wants to do. And we saw last week that he will do what he pleases to do. So we trust that. We trust that God is sovereign. We believe that he knows what he is doing. And as a believer, we can rest in that fact that God is totally sovereign in all that he does. And so I'm grateful for that. It gives me great peace. His sovereignty does not mean, however, that all things are going to happen because of him. Oh no, we look in this world and there's a lot of things that are just out of source, a lot of chaos that's going on, not just in our present situation, but all over the world in so many different ways. In our lives, what people do to us that we just don't understand why things happen. It's a mixed up world. And yet in the midst of all of that, God is sovereign. God is in absolute control. And so that gives us peace to know that whatever happens in our lives has already passed through the loving hands of a faithful, good God. But there's a verse here, when I think about the sovereignty of God, I understand that he's in control. I can have peace. I can rest in that. I can have confidence that he knows what he's doing in my life. But then God tells me in James chapter 5, verse 16, he says, the prayer of a righteous person has great power as it is working, which is just hard for us to grasp, that God is in control, that God doesn't need me. God is going to accomplish what he wants to accomplish in this world. And yet God also says that I have chosen to use the prayers of a righteous person to accomplish my will, which is, it's an amazing truth to comprehend, that we have a God who can do all things, but he has chosen to use his people to pray, to energetically pray, and it will move the hand of God. What an awesome responsibility. So yet when I think about God as sovereign, it gives me great peace. I know what he's doing, but God encourages me to pray effectively, to pray energetically. A lot of chaos going on in the world today. Are you praying energetically for those in leadership to make good decisions, for a Congress to pass good bills, for employers to make good decisions on behalf of the employees? Or are we just trusting, well, God knows what he's doing. He's sovereign. I leave it all up to him. Well, what a great truth that we can leave it up to God. But God says his sovereignty somehow works with the prayers of a righteous man. Are you praying? I encourage you, don't stop praying. God has a plan, and he wants to use you to move the almighty, sovereign hand of God. That's amazing. Keep praying.